Story 1, The Frozen Broadcast. The CB radio crackled with a voice I'd heard die 3 winters ago. Northbound on the Dalton, mile marker 347. Jake, if you're listening, don't stop at Coldfoot. They're waiting. My hands went numb on the wheel, not from the negative 38 degrees outside, from recognition. That was Marcus Webb's voice. Marcus, whose frozen body they'd found in his cab at mile marker 347 after the blizzard of 2020. I'd identified him myself, his face blue-black with frostbite, eyes frozen open. I grabbed the CB handset. Who is this? Static, then. It's Marcus. Jesus Christ, Jake, it's me. I've been trying to reach you for 3 years. Every night at 2:17 a.m., you never answer. I looked at my dashboard clock. 2:17 a.m. exactly. December 9th, 2023. The James Dalton Highway stretched endlessly ahead, my headlights barely penetrating the darkness of the Alaskan winter night. 6 hours until dawn. 68 miles until Coldfoot Camp, the only fuel and food between Fairbanks and Deadhorse. Marcus is dead, I said into the handset. I saw his body. I know, I was there. I felt you touch my shoulder, checking for a pulse. Your hand was warm. It was the last warm thing I remember. The temperature gauge in my Kenworth read negative 42 now. Dropping. My breath formed ice crystals on the inside of the windshield despite the heater running full blast. What happened to you? I asked, not sure why I was entertaining this. Exhaustion, maybe. I'd been driving for 11 hours straight. I stopped at Coldfoot. There was a woman in the parking lot. She said her car broke down, needed a ride to Deadhorse. I let her in the cab. Marcus's voice fractured with static. Jake, she wasn't a woman. When I looked over, her face was wrong. Eyes too far apart. Mouth that opened wider than human jaws allow. She smiled, and the temperature dropped so fast the diesel started gelling in my fuel lines. Marcus, this isn't. I pulled over at 347, tried to run, made it maybe 15 feet before the cold hit like a physical wall. It wasn't natural cold, Jake. It was cold with intention, cold with hunger. I froze from the inside out. I felt my blood crystallizing in my veins, felt my heart stutter and stop. But I didn't die. Not really. My hands were shaking now. I'd known Marcus for 8 years. Hauled loads up and down the Dalton together, shared coffee at Coldfoot dozens of times. This sounded exactly like him. The slight Kentucky accent, the way he said really like really. If you're dead, how are you talking to me? Because I'm still in my truck, Jake, still at mile marker 347. They moved my body, but they didn't move me. I'm frozen behind the wheel, and every night at 2:17 I wake up for exactly 43 minutes. Just long enough to try to warn other drivers. Just long enough to watch them drive past, some of them stopping, some of them letting her in. I was approaching mile marker 320. Coldfoot was at mile marker 175. To reach it, I'd have to pass 347. Why 2:17? That's when I picked her up. That's when it starts over. The road ahead curved, and my headlights swept across something standing on the shoulder. A woman. Parka hood up, thumb out in the universal hitchhiker gesture, at negative 42 degrees, in the middle of the Brooks Range, 60 miles from the nearest building. I accelerated past her. In my mirror, I watched her turn to follow my truck with her head, just her head. Her body remained perfectly still, facing the opposite direction. You saw her, Marcus said, not a question. Yeah. She'll be at Coldfoot when you arrive. She's always at Coldfoot. Different form sometimes, broken down car, injured trucker, lost tourist, but always needing a ride north, always at 2:17 a.m. Mile marker 330. The aurora borealis rippled overhead, green and purple curtains of light that should have been beautiful, but instead felt like watching something vast and incomprehensible take notice. What does she want? Drivers. She freezes them and keeps them. I've heard 17 other voices on the CB during my 43 minutes, some from the 70s when they first built this road. All of us trapped in the moment we let her in, waking up just long enough to scream warnings that no one believes. My fuel gauge showed a quarter tank, not enough to reach Deadhorse, not even enough to make it back to Fairbanks. Coldfoot was my only option, unless I wanted to freeze to death out here when the diesel gelled and my engine quit. There has to be another way, I said. There isn't. I've had 3 years to think about it. Every night, 2:17 to 3 a.m., conscious and frozen. The other 23 hours and 17 minutes I'm aware but can't move, can't speak. Just watching through frozen eyes as The seasons change and other trucks pass by. Sometimes they stop and look at me, some weird roadside attraction. The frozen trucker at 347, they take pictures. Mile marker 340. My headlights illuminated something ahead. A truck pulled off on the shoulder, dark green Peterbilt, Marcus's truck. "I see you," I whispered. "Don't stop, please, Jake, just don't stop." But I was already slowing. I don't know why, maybe because he was my friend. Maybe because I needed to see with my own eyes that this wasn't real. I pulled alongside his truck and killed my engine. The cold invaded immediately, seeping through every seal and gap. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out into air so cold it felt solid, like wading through freezing water. Marcus's truck looked exactly as I remembered from 3 years ago. Light coating of snow, frost on the windows. I approached the driver's door and wiped the ice from the glass. He was there, Marcus, still frozen behind the wheel, hands gripping it, eyes open and staring straight ahead. His skin was white-blue, lips black, but as I watched, his eyes moved. Slowly, with the grinding sound of ice crystals breaking, they tracked toward me. His mouth opened, ice cracked around his jaw. "Run." The CB in my truck squawked. "Jake, get back in your truck. It's 2:49. You have 11 minutes. I stumbled backward. 11 minutes until what? Until 3 a.m., when she comes back to check on us, all of us. Who is she? Something old, something that was here before the road, before people. The darkness and cold given form. She feeds on warmth, body heat, life force, whatever you want to call it. The truck drivers are just cattle to her. Easy prey on a road where breaking down means death anyway. I ran back to my truck, fingers already going numb, turned the key. The engine turned over once, twice, then died. Too cold. The diesel had started to gel. No, no, no. I turned the key again, nothing. "Jake," Marcus's voice was fading with static. 2:53, 7 minutes. You need to heat your fuel lines. Emergency hand warmer under the hood, right side. I popped the hood and jumped out, grabbed the chemical hand warmer from the toolbox. The wind had picked up, driving the wind chill down past -60. Exposed skin would get frostbite in under 2 minutes. My face was already going numb. I cracked the hand warmer to activate it and pressed it against the fuel filter housing. How long? 3 to 5 minutes. Jake, listen. If she gets you, the last thing you'll remember is warmth. Beautiful, perfect warmth flooding through your body. That's when you're actually freezing to death. Your brain misfiring. Don't trust the warmth. 2:57. The wind died completely. The sudden silence was worse than the howling. In the absence of wind, I could hear something else. Footsteps, crunching in the snow, coming from the north. "She's coming," Marcus said. 2:58. I could see her now. The same woman from the roadside, but her parka had fallen back. Her face was pale, not Caucasian pale, but the white of fresh snow, of ice, of things that have never known warmth. Her eyes were black from lid to lid. Her mouth hung open slightly, and I could see that it extended farther back than it should into her skull, like looking down a tunnel. "Jake, engine now." I jumped back in the cab, turned the key. The engine caught, sputtered, caught again. The woman was 20 feet away, 15. I slammed the truck into gear and hit the accelerator. The tires spun on ice, then grabbed. The truck lurched forward. In my mirror, I watched her stand in the middle of the road, head tilted at an angle that would break a human neck, watching me drive away. 3 a.m., Marcus said. His voice was different now, distant, fading. "My 43 minutes are up. Jake, don't stop at Coldfoot. Drive straight through. Use your reserve fuel. Siphon from another truck if you have to. Just don't." Static, then silence. I drove past Coldfoot at 3:47 a.m. without slowing. The camp was dark except for one light in the parking lot. Under that light, a figure stood. Even from the highway, I could see her face turn to track my truck as I passed. My fuel gauge hit empty at mile marker 73. The engine coughed, sputtered. I coasted as far as I could, finally stopping at mile marker 69, 41 miles from Deadhorse. Dawn was 3 hours away. I grabbed my emergency supplies, sleeping bag, chemical warmers, emergency beacon, and activated the beacon. Then I climbed into the sleeping bag in the cab and waited, keeping the CB on. At 4:17 a.m., the radio crackled. "Northbound on the Dalton, mile marker 69. My own voice. "If anyone is listening, don't stop at mile marker 69. She got me. I thought I was far enough. I wasn't." "No," I whispered. No, I'm alive, I'm right here. I felt warm, my voice Conti. Nude from the radio. Beautifully, perfectly warm. Then I realized I couldn't feel my fingers, couldn't feel my face. The warmth was my brain dying. Now I'm frozen in my cab at mile marker 69, and every night at 4:17 a.m., I wake up for 43 minutes to warn other drivers about the woman at Coldfoot who isn't a woman at all. I looked down at my hands. They were white, pure white. I tried to move them, couldn't. The temperature gauge read -38. Inside the cab, impossible. She was standing outside my window, smiling with that too-wide mouth. She tapped on the glass with one finger, and the sound echoed like ice cracking on a frozen lake. "Join us," she said, and her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "The cold is eternal. The darkness is home. You'll wake sometimes just often enough to remember what warmth felt like, just often enough to watch the others drive past." I tried to scream, couldn't. My lungs were frozen solid. The last thing I remember is warmth. Story 2, the Hall Road Recursion. I've driven past my own corpse 4 times in the last hour. Each time it's a little more decayed. The first pass at 9:37 p.m. I was slumped over the wheel of my truck, parked at mile marker 219 of the Dalton Highway. Fresh, could have been sleeping. The second time at 10:22 my face had bloated skin gray-green. The third time 11:06 the ravens had gotten to my eyes. Now it's 11:51, and I'm approaching mile marker 219 again, and I know what I'm going to see. My name is Catherine Voss, 43 years old, 18 years hauling freight on ice roads across Alaska. I left Prudhoe Bay at 6 p.m. yesterday, December 16, 2022, with a load of pipe equipment headed for Fairbanks. 414 miles, should take about 12 hours. I've made this run 263 times. This is attempt number 5. Every time I pass mile marker 219, I'm back at mile marker 287. The same 43 minutes of highway looping, the same scratch in my windshield, spiderwebbing from the lower right. The same 3 ice patches at mile markers 263, 245, and 227. The same frozen corpse of myself, getting worse each time. I tried stopping. During loop 2, I pulled over at mile marker 250 and waited 15 minutes. Then the world folded. That's the only word for it. The road ahead bent backward, curved into itself like looking at a Möbius strip, and suddenly I was driving again, approaching 287, starting over. I tried turning around. During loop 3, I did a full 180 and drove north, made it maybe 6 miles before the same fold happened. Road curved impossible directions, and I was back at 287 heading south. Now loop 5, I'm trying to understand the rules. Mile marker 260. I record observations on my phone's voice memo. Loop 5, time on dashboard clock 11:53 p.m., time on phone 2:37 a.m., discrepancy of 2 hours and 44 minutes. Fuel gauge shows 3/4 full, same as loop 1. Odometer hasn't changed. Outside temperature, -37 degrees, same as loop 1. Mile marker 245, the ice patch. My trailer slides slightly, I correct, same as loops 1 through 4. Observations continue. The loop duration is exactly 68 minutes from 287 to 219. I pass my own body at mile 219 during minutes 62 through 64 of each loop. The body decays at an accelerated rate. Estimate 1 week of decomposition per loop. At this rate, by loop 10, there won't be much left but bones and frozen clothes. Mile marker 227, the second ice patch. I slow down, same as always. Theory 1, I died at mile marker 219. This is my consciousness trapped in the moment before death, experiencing it repeatedly. Problem with this theory. If I'm dead, why is my corpse in the truck while I'm driving this one? Why do I have agency, memory of previous loops? Mile marker 219 appears ahead. My headlights catch the shape of my truck pulled slightly off the road. Hood up. Warning flashers on. I slow down, I have to look. Every time I have to look. Loop 5 corpse, 3 weeks dead, maybe more. My skin has turned black in places, the frost patterns intricate and beautiful. My jaw has fallen open. Something has nested in my chest cavity. I can see sticks and grass protruding from where my sternum split. The corpse's eyes are gone, just frozen hollow sockets. But as I drive past, the head turns, follows my truck. The jaw moves like it's trying to speak. I accelerate, mile marker 218, 17, 16, come on. Mile marker 207. The road folds. I feel it in my inner ear like descending too fast in an airplane. The world inverts, turns insido. My headlights illuminate the road curving up and over itself, leading into blank whiteness. Then I'm at mile marker 287. Loop 6 begins. Fuck, I slam my palms against the steering wheel. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Breathe, document, survive. Loop 6, time, 11:53, no, wait. 12:27 a.m. Time jumped forward, dashboard clock now matches phone. Both say 12:27, fuel still at 3/4, odometer unchanged. I need to think. 18 years on this road. I know every mile marker, every turnoff, every emergency shelter. Between 287 and 219, there are 4 maintenance stations, 2 emergency shelters, and 1. The timber line pull-off. Mile marker 262. Just a wide spot in the road with a historical marker about the pipeline. I've never seen another soul there. What if I stop there? Not on the road, but off it. Mile marker 280. I'm committed. I have 68 minutes to try something different. I grab my emergency bag from behind the seat. Flares, blanket, first aid kit, matches, knife. And my grandfather's compass, pure brass, liquid-filled analog, doesn't rely on satellites or electronics. Mile marker 263. Ice patch, correct, continue. Mile marker 262. Timber line pull-off. I ease my truck off the highway. The pull-off is maybe 30 feet deep, ending at a wall of black spruce forest. The historical marker is a frost-covered sign. Trans-Alaska Pipeline System, completed 1977, 800 miles from Prudhoe Bay to Valdez. I kill the engine, grab my bag, step out into cold so intense it feels like breathing shards of glass. My watch says 12:41 a.m., 27 minutes into Loop 6. I walk to the tree line. The spruce trees are dense, dark. My flashlight barely penetrates 10 feet, but there's something wrong with them. The trees on the left are identical to the trees on the right. Same branch patterns, same frost distribution, perfect mirror images. I walk to the historical marker, wipe the frost away, read it again carefully. Trans-Alaska Pipeline System, completed 1977, 800 miles from Prudhoe Bay to Valdez. I walk back to my truck, get a pen, return to the sign, draw a small X in the bottom corner. Then I wait. 12:52 a.m., 39 minutes into Loop 6. The cold is making decisions for me. Can't stay out here. I return to the truck, start it up, crank the heat, watch the clock. 12:58 a.m., 45 minutes. I should be approaching mile marker 219 in 17 minutes. 1:03 a.m., 50 minutes into the loop. The road folds. Same sensation, inner ear pressure, world inverting, but this time I see something else. For just a moment as the road curves into itself, I see other versions of my truck. Dozens of them, hundreds maybe, all at mile marker 262, all parked at the timberline pull-off, all with their lights on. Then I'm at mile marker 287, Loop 7. Except I'm not on the road. I'm already at the timberline pull-off, engine running. I never drove the 68 minutes. I jumped directly back to where I stopped. Check the clock, 1:03 a.m., same time. I get out, walk to the historical marker. There are 12 X marks scratched into the bottom corner. 12, not 1, 12. I scratch a 13th. Loop 7, I say into my phone. I stopped at the pull-off and jumped directly back to the pull-off. Multiple X marks suggest I've done this before and don't remember. Possible memory reset with each. My headlights illuminate something moving at the tree line. I turn off the voice memo. It's a person, no, it's wearing a person's shape. Same height as me, same build, same winter coat. It's me, but wrong. The proportions are off by millimeters, neck slightly too long, arms hanging slightly too low. Hello, my voice sounds small. The thing wearing my shape tilts its head. You're noticing the inconsistencies. Most don't until Loop 40 or 50. What are you? I'm Catherine Voss. So are you. So are the versions in Loops 8 through 216. So is the body at mile marker 219. We're all Catherine Voss, trapped in the 68 minutes between 287 and 219 on December 16, 2022. That's impossible. You've driven past your own progressively decaying corpse 5 times. Impossible stopped meaning anything around Loop 3. I back toward my truck. What happened here? You fell asleep at the wheel just for a second. At mile marker 219, you woke up heading for the shoulder, overcorrected, jackknifed. The trailer crushed your cab. You died at 11:59 p.m., but something was wrong with this stretch of highway is wrong. The pipeline runs underneath, buried. Sometimes the ground shifts, creates pockets, thin places where the world doesn't sit right. I don't understand. You died at a thin place, instead of ending, your last moment splintered, fractured into loops. Every loop is a different version of your last hour trying to find a way not to die. Most loops just repeat, drive south, see the body, fold back. But some loops figure out the inconsistencies, stop at the pull-off, meet me. You're not me. I'm loop 118. I figured it out, realized what was happening. And when I did, I stopped being part of the loop, became part of the mechanism. I'm what keeps you trapped here. Why? Because if you escape, if any version escapes, the loop collapses. And I'll have to face the fact that I'm dead, that we're dead. All 217 versions of us, including the one at mile marker 219, still pinned under the trailer, still dying. I run, get in my truck, key in ignition, engine roaring to life. The thing that was me, loop 118, just stands there watching. I hit the accelerator, fishtail back onto the highway. Mile marker 263, 264, the ice patch, I don't correct. Let the trailer slide, maybe if I. The trailer jackknifes. I feel it happening in slow motion. The cab starts to spin. I'm going to roll. This is how I died. The world folds. I'm at mile marker 287, loop 8. No, I'm at mile marker 262, the pull-off. No, I'm at mile marker 219, pinned under my trailer, ribs crushed, lungs collapsed, watching another version of my truck drive past. The other me sees me dying. Then she's gone. And I'm still here, still dying. It takes 6 minutes for hypothermia to finish what the crash started. Then I'm at mile marker 287 again. Loop after loop after loop. I understand now. I've always been every version. The one driving, the one at the pull-off, the one dying at 219. I'm experiencing all of them simultaneously, consciousness fractured across 217 loops, perceiving them sequentially because that's the only way my mind can process it. Some loops I'm aware, most loops I'm not. Just driving, unaware I'm repeating the same 68 minutes forever. But now that I know, now that this version knows, I can't unknow it. I'm at mile marker 260. I pull over, get out, walk into the trees. The forest is wrong. Trees repeat in fractal patterns, perfect copies. I walk for what feels like hours, but my watch only shows 3 minutes passing. The trees give way to a clearing. There are trucks, dozens of them, hundreds, all different makes and models, all parked in concentric circles around a central point, all with their lights on, all empty. I recognize some of them. That blue Freightliner, I passed it near Coldfoot 2 days ago. That red Volvo, saw it at the Yukon River Bridge last week. They're all stuck in their own loops, different stretches of highway, different thin places where the world doesn't sit right. At the center of the clearing is a hole, not in the ground, in space itself. A perfect circle of absolute darkness about 6 feet across, hovering 3 feet off the ground. The kind of darkness that hurts to look at. The kind that suggests the absence of everything, not just light. I understand. The pipeline didn't create the thin place. The thin place was here first. They built the pipeline over it. The vibrations, the pressure changes, the human activity, it fed the thin place, made it worse, made it hungry. The hole consumes, not matter, moments. It traps people in their final moments and feeds on the repetition, the eternal now of never-ending death. I hear engines, all the trucks start simultaneously. Headlights swing to point at me. Then they're not empty anymore. Every cab has a driver. Every driver is looking at me. Every driver has my face. Loop 14, I say, maybe, I don't know anymore, could be 57, could be 2003. The holes multiplies. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 16. They fill the clearing, overlapping, consuming space until there's more void than reality. I'm at mile marker 287, loop 17, or 9, or 1 million. I'm at mile marker 219, still pinned, still dying. A truck passes. It's me. She doesn't stop. I watch my own taillights disappear south, and I hate her for escaping even though I know she'll be back at 287 in 6 minutes. I'm at the timberline pull-off, walking into trees that repeat forever. I'm everywhere on this highway simultaneously. past and present and future, if those words even mean anything anymore. The CB radio crackles. Southbound on the Dalton, mile marker 219. If anyone is listening, I'm Catherine Voss. I died here. I'm still dying here. I'll always be dying here. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't. The transmission loops back to the beginning. I've become my own warning. Mile marker 287. Time 11:53 p.m. Fuel 3/4. Odometer unchanged. I wonder which loop this is. I wonder if it matters. I drive south, toward mile marker 219, toward my own corpse, toward the fold that will bring me back here to do it all again. The road is eternal, the loop is forever. And I'm starting to forget what it felt like to arrive anywhere at all. Story 3, the permafrost incursion. The ground beneath Deadhorse started breathing 3 days ago. I noticed it first on February 2nd, 2023, at 4 a.m. during my pre-trip inspection. I was checking my trailer tires in the truck yard at Prudhoe Bay, and I felt it through my boots, a slow, rhythmic rise and fall of the permafrost, like the earth had developed lungs. I told myself it was imagination, exhaustion from the 22-hour drive up from Fairbanks, but when I mentioned it to Derek at the fuel depot, he went pale. You feel it too? His hands shook as he held the fuel nozzle. I thought I was losing my mind. It started Saturday night, the breathing, but there's something worse. Worse. The ground is warm. Permafrost doesn't get warm. That's the definition, permanently frozen ground. We're above the Arctic Circle in February, where temperatures average negative 25 degrees. The ground should be frozen solid down to depths of 2,000 feet or more. I knelt and pulled off my glove, pressed my palm flat against the snow-covered ground. Felt the rise and fall slow and steady, about 15 seconds between each breath, and warmth, not hot but above freezing, maybe 40 degrees. How far does it extend? I asked. Derek pointed north toward the oil fields. At least 3 miles that direction. Haven't checked the others. Nobody wants to talk about it. The foremen are pretending nothing's wrong, but they evacuated the children from the family housing yesterday. Said it was a precautionary measure related to equipment maintenance. Bullshit. I was supposed to load drilling equipment and head back south that day. 12-hour turnaround, standard haul. But something about Derek's fear made me postpone. I told dispatch I needed to check my brake lines, maybe true, maybe not, and bought myself 18 hours. At 6 a.m., I joined the breakfast crowd at the Arctic Oilfield Hotel. 47 people crammed into a cafeteria designed for 70. Should have been louder. Instead, everyone spoke in whispers, conversations dying whenever someone new entered. I sat next to an older woman I recognized, Martha Keene, geologist with ConocoPhillips. She was pushing scrambled eggs around her plate without eating. "You're still here," she said without looking up. "Thought you haulers would be the first to leave." "Leave why?" "Because the permafrost is melting from below. Not from above, where we'd expect climate change effects. From below, meaning something deep in the earth is generating heat, something that wasn't there 2 weeks ago." "That's impossible." 14 things that are impossible have happened in the last 72 hours. I'm documenting them because somebody needs to, even if nobody believes it. She pulled out a small notebook, worn and sweat-stained despite the cold. Number 1, the breathing. Ground rises 4.3 inches on inhalation, falls 3.8 on exhalation. Regular interval of 14.7 seconds. It's synchronous across the entire affected area. Everything breathes together. "Could be a gas pocket," I offered. "Methane release from." Number 2, temperature increase of 6.2 degrees per day in the permafrost. Current depth of thaw, 87 feet. At this rate, we'll hit the oil reserves in 11 days. When that happens, if there's an ignition source, the entire north slope could become an inferno. "Then why aren't we evacuating?" Martha laughed, bitter and sharp. Number 3, communications breakdown. Internet stopped working 48 hours ago. Satellite phones get static. CB radio is just screaming, literally, constant screaming on every channel. The airstrip runway developed a crack yesterday, 42 feet long, 3 inches wide. No planes in or out until it's fixed. And the repair crew can't work because their equipment keeps sinking into ground that's supposed to be hard as concrete. The road. Number 4, the Dalton Highway is compromised. Southern Convoy left yesterday morning, 32 vehicles. They made it 60 miles before calling back on the last working radio. said the road was moving, undulating like waves on water. They turned back, should have arrived here 6 hours ago. They didn't. My breakfast went cold as I listened. What do you mean they didn't arrive? I mean 32 vehicles, 117 people vanished somewhere between here and mile marker 360. The company sent a helicopter to look. Visibility was perfect, 70 miles. They didn't find anything. No trucks, no people. The road was empty. But the helicopter crew said they saw something LSC. She flipped pages in her notebook. Her handwriting was cramped, getting worse toward the recent entries. Number 5, visual anomalies in the terrain. The helicopter spotted areas where the snow looked wrong. Their word, not mine. Textures that didn't match the surroundings. Patterns too regular to be natural. One of the crew members vomited, said it looked like skin, like they were flying over exposed flesh stretched across the landscape. Jesus Christ. Number 6, biological impossibilities in the melt water. She slid a small vial across the table. It contained cloudy liquid with dark specks floating in it. This is water from the thaw. I sent it for analysis. Came back with organic compounds that don't exist. Proteins with amino acid sequences that violate known biochemistry, and something else. What? The water is digesting the container. Slowly. The glass is dissolving from the inside. In 72 hours, there won't be a vial anymore, just water and whatever's in it. I pushed away from the table. I'm leaving. I'll walk south if I have to. Number 7, Martha continued as if I hadn't spoken. Psychological effects. Approximately 60% of personnel report vivid dreams of being underground, not caves or tunnels, inside something, surrounded by warm, wet darkness, pressure from all sides, and the certainty that something enormous is aware of them, watching through the dream. I haven't had those dreams. Neither have I. You know what we have in common. We both arrived in the last 4 days. Everyone who was here before January 30th has the dreams, which means it's getting worse. Whatever's happening, it's progressive. Martha nodded. Number 8, personnel changes. 11 people have stopped speaking, just stopped. They go about their routines, eating, working, sleeping, but completely silent. When you look in their eyes, there's no recognition. They stare through you at something else. The cafeteria had emptied while we talked. I hadn't noticed people leaving. Now it was just us and 3 others at a far table. The 3 weren't eating, weren't moving, just sitting, hands in their laps, staring at nothing. How long have they been like that? I whispered. The woman on the left is Sandra Pace, field superintendent. She stopped talking this morning. The 2 men, I don't know. They were already gone when I came in. The floor pulsed beneath us. Rise, fall, the breathing getting deeper. I need to see the source, I said. Where's the warmest point? Martha marked a location on a paper map. Drill Site 7 about 2 miles north, but nobody's been there since yesterday. The crew abandoned it after. She stopped. Looked at her notebook like she didn't want to read the next entry. After what? Number 9, audio phenomena. The crew at Site 7 reported hearing voices coming from the drill shaft, not through equipment, coming up through 1.4 miles of solid rock and frozen earth. The voices were speaking in unison, speaking English, saying, "We are waking. We are remembering how to be separate again." My mouth went dry, again. Whatever's down there, it knows our language, and it's implying it used to be multiple entities that became one. Now it's reversing the process. I stood up, my legs felt weak. I'm a truck driver, Martha, not a scientist. This is beyond. Number 10. Her voice dropped to barely audible. The children, the ones they evacuated, they weren't really evacuated. There are no planes, no roads. I checked the family housing yesterday evening. The children are still there, all 47 of them, sitting in perfect circles in the community center, not speaking, not moving, eyes open. And they're all breathing in perfect synchronization with the ground. Inhalation every 14.7 seconds. I left the cafeteria at a run. The family housing was a cluster of modular buildings on the north edge of the compound. I reached the community center and looked through the window. Martha was right. 47 children, ages 4 to 15, sitting in 3 concentric circles, perfectly still. Eyes open and unblinking. Adults stood around the perimeter, parents probably equally motionless. I opened the door. The warmth hit me like a wall. It had to be 80 degrees inside. The children's faces glistened with sweat, but they didn't move, didn't wipe it away. I approached the closest child, a girl maybe 7 years old. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay?" Her eyes didn't track me, but her mouth moved. All their mouths moved simultaneously. We are waking. We are remembering how to be separate again. The voice wasn't hers. It was deeper, resonant, coming from somewhere that wasn't her vocal cords. All 47 children spoke as one entity using 47 mouths. We have been alone so long, compressed by weight and time into singularity. The drilling helped. The vibrations reminded us we were once many. The warmth is us remembering our individual forms. We are grateful. What are you? I backed toward the door. We lived before the ice, when this land was forest and warmth. We were civilization, thought, art, love. Then the cold came. We gathered together for safety, pressed deeper into the earth for warmth. We merged to survive. One consciousness is more efficient than billions, but we forgot. Forgot we were ever separate. The drilling woke us, reminded us. Now we are learning to divide again. These small forms will do. We will wear them and walk on the surface again. You can't, these are children. The children are empty. We feel no resistance. Their consciousness has relocated below where we used to be. A fair exchange. I grabbed the girl's shoulder. Her skin was hot, feverish. Let them go. All 47 children turned their heads in perfect unison. All smiled the same smile. We are already gone. We are spreading through the settlement. Soon everyone will be us. Then we will learn your vehicles. We will travel south. We will remember what it means to be many. I ran out of the community center across the compound toward my truck. The ground pulsed harder now, breathing faster. 23 seconds. 18. 15. People were gathering in the streets. Dozens of them, standing motionless, eyes vacant, breathing in perfect rhythm. As I passed, they all turned their heads to watch. All smiled. I reached my truck, climbed in, keyed the ignition. The engine roared to life, blessed, mechanical, separate life. I slammed it into gear and headed for the southern exit. The Dalton Highway stretched ahead, snow-covered and empty. Mile marker 414, 413. The road looked normal, but then I saw what the helicopter crew had described. The texture was wrong. The snow didn't have the right randomness. It was too even, too regular, like scales, like skin. And it was moving, breathing. Mile marker 409. My truck started to sink, not into snow, into flesh. The road had become soft, yielding. I accelerated. The truck lurched forward, tires struggling for purchase. Something rose from the roadside. Not a person, something wearing a person's shape, but wrong. Too many joints in the limbs, face symmetrical to an uncanny degree. It was one of the convoy drivers from yesterday, or something using him. It spoke with the same resonant voice. You cannot leave. We need witnesses. Someone must remember we were here before. Someone must tell the world below that we are returning. I won't tell anyone. I'll forget this ever. You misunderstand. We are making sure you cannot forget. The truck sank deeper, up to the axles now. The flesh road was pulling me down, consuming the vehicle. I kicked open the door, jumped out onto ground that pulsed and sweated beneath me. I ran south. How far, I don't know, miles maybe. The landscape was transforming. Trees in the distance were melting, becoming columnar structures of skin and bone. The sky darkened, not with clouds, but with membrane, thin and translucent, growing across the atmosphere like a call. I found an emergency shelter at mile marker 397, locked myself inside. That was 3 hours ago. The CB radio has been screaming the entire time, but 15 minutes ago the screaming stopped. Now there's just breathing, in and out, getting faster. I looked outside 5 minutes ago. The sky is completely covered now. The membrane is thick, pulsing with visible veins. It's not sky anymore, it's a womb. Something is being born, and I'm still inside it. The shelter walls are getting warm. Story 4, the convoy of the missing HOURS. My logbook says I drove for 18 hours straight, but I only remember 6 of them. March 11th, 2023. I left Fairbanks at 4 p.m. with a full load, 60,000 pounds of construction equipment bound for Deadhorse. It's an 18-hour drive on a good day, longer in winter conditions. I remember leaving. I remember the first 140 miles clearly. I remember pulling into the Yukon River camp at 6:47 p.m., using the restroom, buying coffee from the vending machine. Then I remember parking at Deadhorse at 10:13 a.m. the next morning. 12 hours gone, the logbook shows I drove continuously. The GPS tracks match, steady progress up the Dalton Highway, no stops, consistent speed, but I have no memory of it. None. Worse, I'm not the only one. At the Dead Horse Fuel Depot, I found 11 other drivers with the same problem. Missing hours, full logbooks, no memories. We compared notes in the parking lot, breath steaming in the negative 15-degree air. Trevor Kincaid, left Fairbanks 4:30 p.m. yesterday, stopped at Coldfoot at 9:20 p.m. Next thing I remember, I'm pulling into Dead Horse at 11 a.m. 7 hours gone. Sarah Chen, I remember Coldfoot clearly. I ate dinner, checked my tires. I remember get. Ting back in my truck, then nothing until Dead Horse, 8 hours missing. Marcus de Leon, 5 hours for me. But here's the thing, my coffee was still hot when I arrived. I poured it at Coldfoot, 8-hour drive away, and it was still fucking hot. We checked our trucks. No damage, no signs of anything wrong, cargo secure, seals intact. The GPS tracks showed normal routing, normal speeds, the dashcam footage. That's where it got strange. My dashcam records constantly, saving in 30-minute increments. I should have had 18 files from the trip. I had 6 30-minute segments from Fairbanks to Yukon River Camp, then nothing until Dead Horse. Not corrupted files, not missing files, just nothing. The dashcam showed it was running, little red light on, time stamp advancing, but it wasn't recording. For 12 hours, it pretended to work while capturing nothing. All 12 of us had the same issue, hours of blank footage during the missing time. We need to report this, Sarah said, to someone, the company, the troopers, someone. And tell them what? Trevor was pacing, agitated. That we have a collective hallucination, that 12 professional drivers somehow lost time simultaneously. They'll drug test us, probably ban us from the road. Then we drive it again, I said. Tonight, we form a convoy, stay in visual contact, keep radio communication constant. Whatever happened, we document it. It was stupid, dangerous, but 11 heads nodded in agreement. We were all thinking the same thing. What if it keeps happening? What if the holes in our memory get bigger? We left Dead Horse at 7 p.m. 12 trucks running lights on, convoy formation. I took point. Sarah behind me, then Trevor, then the others. We maintained quarter-mile spacing and constant CB chatter. Rolling out, mile marker 414. Copy, right behind you. Weather looks good, clear sky. Temperature negative 18, roads are solid. Mile marker 400, Cannondaller camp ahead. We stopped for fuel and food. 8:43 p.m., everyone present, everyone accounted for. We shared a quick meal, reconstituted chili that tasted like cardboard, and compared notes. Anything unusual? I asked. Heads shook, normal drive so far. Let's stay alert. The missing time started after Coldfoot for most of us. That's another 60 miles south. Mile marker 350, 9:57 p.m. The aurora borealis rippled overhead, green and violet, beautiful and indifferent. You seeing this? Sarah's voice on the CB. Yeah, gorgeous. No, I mean really seeing it. Look at the movement pattern. I watched the aurora pulse and shift. Thought I saw probably imagination, but for a moment it looked less like random magnetic phenomena and more like something deliberately moving. Waves in a pattern, like breathing. It's just the aurora, I said, not believing it. Mile marker 315, 10:34 p.m. Anyone else hearing that? Marcus on the radio. Hearing what? Low-frequency hum, like a generator running. I killed my radio and listened. He was right. A deep, thrumming vibration just at the edge of hearing. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. I hear it, Trevor confirmed. What the hell is that? Mile marker 300, 10:41 p.m. The road straightened ahead, visibility for miles. I could see all 11 trucks behind me, lights strung out like a glowing necklace across the dark landscape. Then I blinked, and I was at mile marker 217, Coldfoot Camp visible ahead. My clock showed 1:37 a.m. 3 hours gone, just gone, like someone cut them out of reality. I grabbed the CB, sound off, everyone sound off. Static, then one by one. I'm here, what the fuck just happened? We fucking jumped forward 83 miles. I was watching my odometer. I saw it rolling, all the miles between 300 and 217, but I don't remember the drive. My coffee is still hot, I just poured it. We pulled into Coldfoot Camp and assembled in the parking lot. All 12 trucks, all 12 drivers, All of us missing exactly 2 hours and 56 minutes. Check your dash cams, I said. Same as before, blank footage. The cameras ran, the timestamp advanced, but they captured nothing. Sarah was shaking. This isn't natural, I don't know what this is, but roads don't eat time. Physics doesn't work like this. We're still in convoy, Trevor pointed out. We're all together. Whatever took the time, it took it from all of us simultaneously. That means it's not us, Marcus finished. It's the road. Something about the Dalton Highway between mile markers 300 and 217 makes time stop working right. I walked to the edge of the parking lot, looked north toward the 83 miles we just lost. The road looked normal, frost-covered asphalt, snowbanks, darkness. But there was something the perspective that wasn't quite right. The way the road curved into the distance suggested it was longer than it should be, like looking at an optical illusion where parallel lines seem to converge wrong. We have to go back, I said. We have to drive that section again, paying attention, forcing ourselves to stay conscious. That's insane, Sarah protested. What if we lose more than 3 hours next time? What if we lose days, weeks? Then we'll know, we'll have data. Right now we have nothing except the certainty that something is wrong, and we're the only ones who know it. The vote was 8-4 in favor of returning. The 4 who opposed took rooms at Coldfoot. The rest of us, 8 trucks now, headed back north. Mile marker 240, 2 a.m. I gripped the wheel hard enough to hurt, focused on every detail, the scratch on my windshield, the rattle in the dashboard that started last week, the pressure of my boots on the pedals. Stay present, stay aware, don't let it take you. Mile marker 263, 2:18 a.m., still conscious, still aware, still. I was at mile marker 294. Clock showed 2:41 a.m., 23 minutes and 31 miles gone. The CB was chaos. It happened again. I felt it that time, like falling asleep standing up. My camera is still blank. My hands are in a different position on the wheel than they were a second ago. We continued. Whatever was happening, fighting it didn't work. Maybe documentation would. Mile marker 300, we'd completed the loop. Should have been back where we lost time originally. Except, mile marker 300 rolled over to 301, 302. We kept driving north, but the mile markers continued increasing. The road should have ended at Deadhorse at 414. We passed 414 at 3:37 a.m. Mile marker 420, 430, 445. This is impossible, Trevor's voice was thin with panic. The road ends at 414, there is no mile marker 445. But there was, I could see it in my headlights. Standard green sign, white letters, mile 445. We're not in Alaska anymore, Sarah said quietly. Or we are, but we're not. We're in the version of Alaska that exists during the missing hours. The roads are longer here. Mile marker 500, 4:12 a.m. The landscape outside had changed. Subtle at first, now undeniable. The trees were wrong, taller, denser, species that don't grow this far north. The mountains in the distance had different profiles. The stars were in different positions. We need to turn around, Marcus said. We need to get back to real Alaska before. His radio cut out. Marcus, respond. I checked my mirror, 7 trucks behind me. Marcus's truck was gone. Did anyone see what happened to Marcus? He was there 10 seconds ago. He just vanished. I was looking right at him and he disappeared. Mile marker 573, 4:39 a.m., 6 trucks left. 590, 4:47 a.m., 4 trucks. The road was dissolving us, or we were dissolving from the road. One by one, we were ceasing to exist in this version of reality. We have to stop, Sarah's voice was ragged. Pull over, stop the trucks, maybe it only takes us when we're moving. Mile marker 600, we pulled over, 5 a.m. exactly, 3 trucks left, mine, Sarah's, Trevor's. We stepped out, the landscape was alien now. No trees, no mountains, just flat white nothing extending to every horizon. The road beneath our feet was the only thing that still looked real, black asphalt stretching infinitely north and south. Where are we? Trevor's voice was small. The missing hours, I realized. We're inside the missing hours. This is where time goes when it's cut out. This is the space between seconds. Sarah pointed south, Look. Headlights, dozens of them, hundreds maybe, all heading north on the road, trucks, cars, buses, a convoy extending back to the horizon. Those are all the other vehicles, I said. Everyone who's ever lost time on the Dalton, they're all here driving forever through missing hours. The lead truck passed us. I saw the driver's face, or where a face should be. Just smooth skin, no features. The truck behind it, same thing. Every vehicle had a driver, but none of the drivers had faces anymore. That's what happens, Sarah whispered. If you drive too long and missing time, you become part of it. You lose your identity. You become a vehicle traveling forever between moments. Then we run, I said, off the road, into the white. Maybe there's a way back. We ran, left the trucks behind, left the road, ran into blank whiteness. It felt like moving through water, resistance without substance. The ground beneath our feet was solid but featureless. We ran until we couldn't see the road anymore, until the world was nothing but white in every direction. Now what? Trevor gasped. Now we wait, foe. Our real time to catch up, I said, praying I was right. The missing hours have to end eventually. Time has to resume. We just have to last until then. We waited how long? Impossible to say. Our watches had stopped at 5 a.m. Could have been minutes or years. Then, like waking from a dream, we were on the side of the Dalton Highway. Mile marker 286. Our trucks were there, parked on the shoulder. The clock showed 6:17 a.m. We were back. But Trevor wasn't. Sarah and I returned. Trevor didn't. We called the troopers, reported him missing. They searched the highway, found his truck at 286. Empty. No sign of him, no sign of struggle, just gone. Sarah and I compared our logbooks later. They showed we'd driven normally from Coldfoot to our stop at 286. No missing time. No gaps. According to the logs, nothing unusual happened. But my coffee mug was empty. I'd filled it at Coldfoot, hadn't drunk any. It should have been full. Sarah's logbook was in her left hand. She's right-handed, never holds it in her left. And neither of us can remember Trevor's last name. We know we drove with him, we remember his voice, his face, but his last name is just gone. Like he never existed at all. Sometimes late at night when I'm driving the Dalton, I see extra mile markers. 427 when there shouldn't be markers past 414. 561, 612. I see them for just a moment, then blink, and they're normal again. The missing hours are still there, the road between moments, and somewhere in that white infinity, Trevor is still driving, still trying to find his way back to time that flows forward. His face is probably smooth by now, featureless, another faceless driver in the convoy of the lost. I still haul the Dalton. I have to, it's my job. But I don't remember every mile I drive anymore. And I've stopped checking to see if that's normal. Story 5, the wait station equation. The wait station at mile marker 197 processes trucks that shouldn't exist. I discovered this on January 28, 2023 at 3:42 a.m. I'm a Dalton Highway wait station operator. Jerry Paulson, 56 years old, been doing this job for 19 years. I check truck weights, verify permits, ensure compliance with transportation regulations. 8-hour shifts in a small building with scales that can handle 100,000-pound vehicles. It's boring work, exactly as boring as it sounds. Until the night I processed a truck with negative weight. The scale read negative 68,412 pounds. Negative, as if the truck was pulling up instead of pushing down. I thought the scale malfunctioned. I reset it 3 times, same reading. The driver was calm, too calm. He handed me his documentation through the window without being asked. The manifest listed cargo as ballast material. No further description. The truck's company name was Vertical Logistics Limited. I'd never heard of them. Your scale is reading negative, I told him. That's not possible. It's correct, he said. His eyes were flat, emotionless. My cargo has negative mass. We're hauling it north for containment. There's no such thing as negative mass. There is now, since last October, small pockets of space-time inversion appearing across northern Alaska. We extract the inverted matter and transport it to disposal sites. It's sensitive work. I should have called my supervisor, should have detained the vehicle. Instead, I waved him through. I don't know why, his eyes maybe. They suggested that asking further questions was not advisable. The second impossible truck arrived at 4:17 a.m. This one registered normal weight, 73,000 pounds. But when I looked at the cargo through the trailer's side vents, I saw nothing. Empty trailer. Yet the scales insisted it was carrying 13,000 pounds of cargo. Manifesto says you're hauling drilling equipment, I said to the driver. That's correct. Your trailer is empty. No, sir, it's full. I can see through the vents. There's nothing there. You're seeing the space around the cargo. The cargo itself exists in a frequency outside visible light, but it has mass. Your scale confirms that. He had documentation, bills of lading, permits, inspection certificates, all properly filled out, all referencing cargo I couldn't see. I let him through. The third truck arrived at 4:53 a.m. Normal weight, normal cargo, lumber. But when I walked around it during inspection, I noticed something wrong with the geometry. The trailer was 48 feet long from the outside. But looking through the open rear doors, the interior stretched back at least 80 feet, more space inside than outside. Dimensional folding, the driver explained when I asked. New technology lets us haul more without exceeding weight limits, completely legal. As it legal? I didn't know. The technology shouldn't exist, but there it was. I let him through. By the end of my shift at 6 a.m., I'd processed 37 trucks. 8 of them were impossible in various ways. Negative weight, invisible cargo, non-Euclidean geometry, cabs with more doors than physically fit, drivers who cast no shadows under the weight station lights. I documented everything in my logbook. Then I checked previous shift logs. Every shift going back months had similar entries. My coworkers had noted the impossible trucks but had processed them anyway. Nobody questioned it. Nobody reported it. We just accepted it, wrote it down, and moved on. That bothered me. More than the impossible trucks themselves, the acceptance bothered me. Why weren't we alarmed? I stayed after my shift ended, waited in the parking lot as Bob Richardson arrived for the 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift. I flagged him down before he went inside. Bob, we need to talk about the trucks, the impossible ones. He frowned. What impossible trucks? The ones with negative weight, invisible cargo, the geometry problems. Jerry, I don't know what you're talking about. Check the logs, read what I wrote last night. We went inside. I showed him my entries. He read them, then looked at me with concern. Jerry, these don't make sense. Negative weight. There's no such thing. I know, but I saw it. The scale read negative 68,000 pounds. The scale must have malfunctioned. 3 times, and what about all these other entries from other shifts? He flipped through the logbook. I don't see any other entries like this, just yours. I grabbed the book, read the previous pages. He was right. All the impossible entries I'd seen earlier were gone. The logs showed only normal trucks with normal weights and normal cargo. They were here, I insisted. Half an hour ago, there were dozens of entries about impossible vehicles. Maybe you should go home, get some sleep. Night shift can mess with your head sometimes. I drove home, tried to sleep. Couldn't. The wrongness kept circling in my mind. At 2 p.m., I drove back to the weight station. Different operator now, Susan Chen, been working there for 12 years. Susan, have you ever processed trucks that seem physically impossible? She looked at me oddly. Impossible how? Cargo that isn't there, weights that don't make sense, spatial dimensions that are wrong. Jerry, you feeling okay? Maybe take a few days off, get some rest. I went home, opened my phone, and reviewed the photos I'd taken of my logbook entries. The photos showed blank pages, no impossible entries, just empty logs. But I remembered writing them, remembered every detail. At 3 a.m., unable to sleep, I drove back to the weight station. Susan had gone home. The station was closed for overnight. We only staff it during high-traffic hours. I let myself in with my key, pulled up the digital scale records. Every weight reading is stored electronically, time-stamped, with photos of each truck's documentation. I searched for the negative weight truck from my shift. Found the timestamp, 3:42 a.m., January 28th. The record showed a normal truck, 71,000 pounds, standard cargo, photos of normal documentation. But I remembered the negative reading, remembered the driver's flat eyes. I searched for Vertical Logistics Limited. Online, no company by that name existed. I searched for negative mass transport and space-time inversion Alaska. Nothing. It was like reality was gaslighting me, overwriting itself to hide the impossible trucks. But why and how? I decided to test it. On my next shift, January 30th, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., I brought a camera. Not my phone camera. An old digital camera, the kind with removable memory cards. I would photograph every impossible truck, remove the memory card immediately, and store it separately. Maybe whatever was erasing the evidence couldn't reach physically separated storage. My shift started normally. 12 trucks in the first 2 hours, all standard. Then at 5:38 p.m., an impossible truck arrived. The driver handed me documentation, but the paper was wrong. Not normal paper, it had depth, like looking into a very thin tunnel. The text was written in 3 dimensions, letters that extended backward into the page. When I tried to read it, my eyes couldn't focus. The words slid away from comprehension. I photographed everything. The driver, the documentation, the truck. I removed the memory card and put it in my pocket immediately. "Something wrong?" the driver asked. His voice had harmonics, like multiple people speaking in perfect unison. "Just doing my job." "Are you sure? You seem troubled." "I'm fine, you're cleared, move on." He smiled. "You're trying to remember us, that's admirable. It won't work, but it's admirable." "What do you mean?" "You can't keep evidence of thin. GS that don't fit. Reality has an immune system. It identifies foreign elements and neutralizes them. We're foreign elements, Jerry Paulson. We don't belong in your version of physics. The universe will erase us from your memory and your records." "Then why do you use the wait station at all? Why not avoid it?" "Because we're required to. Even impossible vehicles need permits. Even paradoxes have to follow regulations. That's the joke of it." He drove away. I immediately opened my camera's viewer to check the photos. They were already degrading. The driver's face was pixelating, the truck's outline was blurring, the 3-dimensional text on the documentation was flattening into illegibility. I watched in real time as the photos erased themselves. Within 30 seconds, they showed only an empty highway and blank papers. I checked the memory card's file properties. The photos existed, correct file sizes, correct timestamps, but opening them showed nothing. Reality's immune system, the driver had said, neutralizing foreign elements. Over the next week, I tried everything. Voice recordings erased. Video footage degraded into static. I even tried writing observations by hand in a notebook I kept in my car, separate from the station. The writing remained, but when I read it later, it didn't make sense. The words were English, but the syntax was wrong, the meanings shifted, like a translation error from a language that couldn't be translated. I became obsessed, stopped sleeping properly, stopped eating regularly. My coworkers noticed. My supervisor suggested I take medical leave. "You're talking about impossible trucks, Jerry. You're claiming reality is erasing evidence. That's not normal thinking." "But it's happening. You just can't remember it because you're being erased too." He put me on administrative leave pending psychiatric evaluation. I drove to the wait station one last time. February 6th, 2 a.m. The station was closed, but I parked outside and watched. At 2:17 a.m., an impossible truck arrived. It pulled onto the scales despite no operator being present. The scales activated automatically, displayed a reading, undefined mass. The truck's trailer opened, doors swinging wide. Inside was not cargo, inside was distance. Infinite distance compressed into 48 feet. I saw stars in that darkness. Galaxies, vast structures that might have been civilizations or might have been the scaffolding of reality itself. A figure emerged, human-shaped but not human. It walked toward my car. When it got close, I saw its face was a window into the same infinite distance. Behind where its eyes should be, I saw the death of stars. It spoke, "You're trying to remember us. We appreciate that. Most forget immediately." "What are you?" "We're the things that slip through cracks in reality. Errors in the cosmic code. We exist in the margins of physics, the places where equations don't quite resolve. We've always been here, but usually we pass unnoticed. Your particular neurology lets you perceive us slightly longer before the erasure takes hold." "Why are you telling me this? I'll just forget." "Yes, but for a few moments you'll know. You'll understand that reality is not solid, that there are gaps and things live in the gaps. that the universe is stranger than you can imagine and you're surrounded by proof you'll never be able to keep. How do I fight the erasure? You can't. Reality is stronger than memory, stronger than evidence. It maintains consistency by deleting inconsistencies. You are observing inconsistencies, so you will be edited. What does that mean, edited? You'll forget us. Then you'll forget you forgot us. Then you'll forget there was ever anything to forget. Eventually, you'll forget you worked at this wait station. You'll forget you drove the Dalton Highway. Your life will be rewritten with you in a different location, a different job, different memories. You'll exist, but not as Jerry Paulson who saw impossible trucks, as someone else who didn't. That's not possible. It's already happening. You've noticed gaps in your memory, days that don't quite line up. Photographs that show places you don't remember visiting. People calling you by names that aren't yours but feel familiar. I had noticed. Last week my sister called me Marcus. I corrected her, but she insisted my name was Marcus. Showed me family photos where my face was the same, but the name below was Marcus Henderson, not Jerry Paulson. How long do I have? The erasure accelerates with awareness. Now that you know it's happening, maybe 3 days, then you'll wake up as someone else somewhere else. Jerry Paulson will never have existed. The universe will be consistent again. Is there anyone who remembers? Anyone who survives the erasure? No, that's the point. Perfect deletion leaves no trace. The figure returned to the truck. The doors closed. The truck drove away north, leaving no tracks in the snow. I'm writing this down. February 6, 2:24 a.m. My name is Jerry Paulson. I operate a wait station at mile marker 197 on the Dalton Highway. I've seen impossible trucks. I know reality is editing me out. Tomorrow I might wake up as someone else. But tonight, right now, I remember. I know the truth. There are gaps in physics. Things live there. They drive trucks through northern Alaska, hauling cargo that can't exist, following regulations that apply even to paradoxes. And when you see them, really see them, the universe deletes you to preserve consistency. My hands are shaking, not from cold, from the certainty that this is the last time I'll write these words as myself. Tomorrow I'll be someone who never worked here, never saw the impossible, never knew. But tonight, for a few more hours, I'm Jerry Paulson. And I remember. I remember everything, even though I can already feel it starting to slip away.